Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited for this next video. I've been wanting to do a Halloween video since the start of this year and we're already in October, so I thought what better way to start it off than with a Mean Girls inspired look. Today is the 3rd of October, which is such an iconic day in Mean Girls history. If you're a real fan, you'd know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna try and recreate the I'm a mouse, duh look from Karen Smith. For this video, I'll be using a Bratz fashion stylist, Chloe. She is the makeup artist one, and I think she kind of looks like Karen Smith. And just a quick disclaimer before we get started, guys, I am by no means a professional. I'm doing this because I love it and just for the fun of it. So if you are underage, please do watch with adult supervision. To create her mouse ears, I'll be using this crafting wire, some yarn, and I also have some of this air dry foam to shape it out, and then of course my scissors. To get started, I'm going to take this crafting wire and I just loosely shape it around her head until I get the perfect headband shape. I also made her ears and I tried to attach them on camera, but it just didn't work, but I will show you guys more or less how I did it. I'm pretty sure that Mean Girls is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched it more times than I could count. I just think that it's simply iconic, and I think that it shaped pop culture and it still does to this day. After I'm done attaching the one ear, I go around and attach the other one, and that should give us the basic shape of our headband. After that, I go in with my air dry foam clay and I just kind of map it out piece by piece, shaping it as I go. And I used some tools just to shape around the ears where my fingers couldn't reach. This is what it looks like when it's done, and even though this will be bendable once it's dry, I just go in to make sure that I got the right shape and I can put it aside to dry. And now I can move on and create some flocking. I'm going to take this charcoal gray and white yarn and I just shred them into tiny little pieces, and after that I mix it together with my fingers to create a lighter shade. And I'm going to do exactly the same steps with the pink yarn. I'm also mixing the pink with the white just so that I can get a lighter shade. Once the foam has dried, I can go in and paint it all with one layer of gray acrylic paint. I also go in and paint the inside of the ears with a pink shade, and this just helps to create a base for the flocking. To attach the flocking, I went in with a brush and dipped it into some craft glue, and I went piece by piece adding a generous amount of glue, and then I went in with another brush and just stamped some of that flocking onto the glue. But I soon realized that the brush wasn't working much, so I ditched the brush and went in with my fingers, and that actually helped me to shape it out much better. Here are the completed ears, and I can now put them aside to dry. To create the shoes, I'll be using these brown boots, which I'm pretty sure are from a fashion pack. And what I did was I went in with some silver acrylic paint and I ended up painting the base 4 times just to create a nice opacity. And I also gave the shoes some well-deserved red bottoms because I think if Mean Girls had to be shot today, all the girls would definitely be rocking some red bottoms. I could have been done with the shoes right here, but I found this really stunning holographic silver glitter and I thought this would be the perfect touch just to change it up. Here are her boots completed, and I'm so obsessed with how they turned out, and I can finally put them aside and start working on her outfit. To create her outfit, I'll be using some black cotton fabric. I have this pleated mesh netting, a lace trimming, some black thread, my scissors, and then I also have this ribbon to create straps. And then I'm going to use some of this silver gray ribbon to create her belt, as well as the silver gray thread. Now let's get started. I'm going to show you how to create a pattern for her bottoms, and if you want to see me create a pattern for the top, I did that in my previous video, which I will be linking down below if you want to check that out. I start by laying her down onto the block pattern paper, which I find is the easiest way to make patterns because the lines are already there, you just got to fill them out. I start by creating 2 lines on either side of her hips, and this is where the 2 sides will be joining each other. I also make a dot in the middle for the crotch area, and then I just go in and join those lines to create the perfect bottom. I did forget to add a seam allowance, so I went back in and added that. I also drew a line right in the middle so that I could fold the paper in half and cut out a symmetrical pattern. I did end up tracing this on another piece of paper so that I could have a nice clean pattern. I'm gonna start by creating her top, so I pinned down the pattern onto the cotton fabric and I just cut that out. Once I have it perfectly cut out, I go in with my lighter just to seal all the edges once again to stop it from fraying. I then take that base that we just cut out and I attach a piece of mesh to it by pinning it down and sewing a straight stitch all along the top. Once that's done, I take the 2 sides and I fold them opposite sides around, and I just pin that in place and do another straight stitch all along the top to create a nice neat top. And then once that's done, I go in with my lace trimming and I pin it on the inside of the top, making sure a little piece sticks out over the edge, and I'll just sew that with a straight stitch all around, creating a nice lace ruffle all around the top. I'm now going to go ahead and take my pleated mesh fabric and I'll pin that upside down onto the bodice, and I'm going to sew that, creating my own pleats as I go so that it'll have a nice flow once it is all put together. And once that's done, I unfold the fabric and I'll be taking that seam and sewing it all along the top. I can now take some of the silver gray ribbon and attach it to the bodice by sewing on the top and the bottom, making sure that it's secured. I made the ribbon using a fork by pulling the one side over and then taking the opposite side and going through the middle of the fork, taking it up and over, through the middle again, and then underneath one of the loops, and I'll just pull that securely. To attach the ribbon to the belt as neatly as possible, I'll be using my glue gun and just pressing down onto the glue, being careful so I don't burn my fingers. To open and close the top, I'll be using these 2 little press studs. These are little plastic studs that I got from my craft store, and I just sew them into place and click them shut. The final step to this top would be to add the straps. I just pin down where exactly I want them to be, and then I sew it into place, connecting the front to the back. Once the straps have been put in, I can finally move on and create the bottom. I go in and pin the pattern onto the cotton and cut out the front of the bottoms. After I've cut them out, I go in with my lighter once again just to secure all of the edges. To cut out the bottoms, I'm going to take my pattern and I just fold away the one edge, and then I fold my fabric in half and pin that in place. Once I've cut that out, I once again will go in with my lighter just to secure all the edges and stop it from fraying. I then go in and fold over the edge where the fastener will be attached, and I just sew that down into place to create a nice smooth edge. I ended up doing this for both sides, and now I can attach the front to the back. Once I've attached the two backs to the front, I go in and just sew them together. I then open the front and the back and I just sew down the seam onto the front to make it look more neat. To make the leg holes look a little bit more neat, I'll be pinning down this mesh fabrics onto the right side of the bottoms, and I just sew along the edge. Once I've done sewing, I just go in with my scissors and I cut away all of the excess mesh, and then I fold that opposite sides touching and then sew around the edge once again, and that'll just create a smooth leg hole. Once both of the leg holes have been done, I can fold the fabrics right sides touching, and then I just pin that in place. I then go on to fit this onto Chloe just to make sure that I get the right shape, and I did end up just adjusting it a little bit once I had it on her to make sure that the leg holes aren't too small or too big. I then go in and sew the front and the back together where I pinned them down, and when I'm done with that, I just cut off the excess of the material, I burn it with my lighter, and I fold it inside out so that we're facing the right way, and then I just sew the seams down. Once that's done, I can go in with my lace trimming and I pin that onto the inside of the bottoms, and then I stitch that into place. After that, I flip the material inside out so that the lace will be showing on the right side of the bottoms, and I once again sew that into place. I then went in and I fit it onto Chloe just to make sure that everything is still fitting, and then we can go ahead and attach the fasteners. When the fastener is attached and the bottoms are basically done, I made a little ribbon just to attach to the front of the bottoms to give it a sweet little touch. I added it with my hot glue gun, and I was once again very careful to not burn my fingers. Now that all of the pieces are finally done, we can go ahead and assemble them onto Chloe and turn her into Karen Smith. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a like, a follow, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.